Hello anime lovers, here we are today, in this anime video of 10 anime where the main character leaves his friends and returns much stronger. Therefore, we've compiled a well-arranged anime list, which includes epic scenes where a character leaves his friends and returns after becoming a badass and, frankly, overpowered. So welcome back to Animeology, and today, we will show you the top 10 anime where the main character leaves his friends and returns much stronger. Before we begin, be sure to drop a like and subscribe down below for more anime top 10s, and without further ado, let's get right into the video. Number 10, Ari Fioretta. This story is an exploration of hope and despair, a journey to its extremity for those betrayed. Be warned, our main character is a total opposite from the typical heroes found in other anime. He is just an average boy with below average ability, but this is what makes the story an interesting watch. The story starts off with the main character along with his class being transported to another world, where they are to be collectively trained up in order to save the world from other beings. Unfortunately for our main character, he is betrayed along his journey and finds himself inside what would be a bottomless dungeon. The story follows his grind to get out and find out who betrayed him. Sounding pretty good so far for the startup, looking like a decent isekai, let's see how it pans out. The main character drudges through challenge after challenge with the core idea to survive and be reunited with his allies. During this trip, he finds another companion who vows to help him in said quest in exchange for freeing them from their binds. Number 9, Ulysses, Jeanne d'Arc and the Alchemist Knight. Throughout history, there have been individuals who have wielded the power to reshape the destinies of countries. These select few have been known as the Ulysses, and the truth behind their abilities has been lost to time. It is now the 15th century, and the nations of France and England are entrenched in a conflict which will one day be known as the 100 Years' War. The people of France feel as though there is no hope left. With each passing month, the French only experience more hardships. Dreaming of building a utopia free from this violence is amateur alchemist Montmorency. Montmorency had been researching the properties of the mysterious Philosopher's Stone when suddenly an English raiding party attacked the small French village of Domremy. There, Montmorency watches in horror as the English strike down a young girl named Jeanne. While the show certainly didn't do anything new, I didn't think it was awful or unwatchable. I tend to enjoy the alternate history concept, so I enjoyed it for what it was for the most part. But I wasn't really expecting anything more than the standard harem shenanigans, so don't make high expectations from this anime. Number 8, Blast of Tempest. This anime was one of the best that I've ever seen. Whenever I have nothing to watch, I would turn to Blast of the Tempest. The ending was perfect, the storyline was amazing, but the best of all were the characters. One thing that can be said about Blast of Tempest is that it follows a logical premise that manages to feel legitimately inspired, despite its fair share of twists. Even though the story involves magic, the series defines a strong logical framework that both empowers and entraps its characters. Above all, our character's personal history is a major factor in the series. It drives Mikiro on a vengeful path to determine who killed his sister and weighs down Yoshino to the point of near detachment. It is only when these characters are able to accept fate and focus that they are able to allow a tragic event to become the means to a better end, saving the world. Moreover, the past as a general influence is extremely well realized. Events in the past, including Hakatse's imprisonment, Aika's death, and even further, back to the formation of the Tree of Exodus as a means to end the Tree of Genesis' purpose in resetting humanity, are central to the plot. And at number 7, Rainbow.
つのために。
Rainbow is a series I watched not too long ago. I rarely hear about it, but it had a very high ranking on my anime list, and a friend of mine had just watched it and recommended it to me. Naturally, I wondered how it had such a great score but low popularity, but from what I can see, people have just missed out on the show, which is a shame, because it's a pretty good show at what it does. The setting is slightly after the loss in World War II, and criminal action among youngsters had become more and more common in Japan. This is where our main cast comes in, as 6 newly captured criminal youngsters who are now being sent to reformatory. In said reformatory, these youngsters are punished for their crimes and once more lead onto the right path. At least that's what it seems like on the outside. The story is pretty good and the setting quite unique. It displays the hero worship of criminals in the past, which is an interesting point of view and makes for a very original story. Number 6, Seraph of the End, Vampire Reign.
ゆうちゃんもダメだゆうちゃん僕と一緒に
Seraph of the End is a post-apocalyptic supernatural shonen anime that follows a young man's search for retribution, all the while battling for friendship and loyalty against seemingly impossible odds. The story isn't all that original, but it does have unique moments. In fact, I think that the story's very entertaining and worth watching. Also, the anime is rather fast-paced. It's not one of those anime that linger on one story or place for like 3 episodes. The story itself was damn interesting. You've got a world where nearly every adult died, and almost all of the children were abducted by vampires. It's the story of how one boy manages to escape captivity and manages to fight back alongside the human resistance. It's the makings of a great shonen anime. Definitely an enjoyable series, just don't expect Attack of Titans type stuff. Seraph of the End is the quintessential example of a generic anime title. It's a show you've undoubtedly seen many times before and one you'll continue to encounter way after its time in the limelight is up. At number 5, Aldnoah Zero. This anime follows a group of humans trying to survive the invasion of the technologically advanced Martians. The Martians have longed to have Earth, and the assassination of their princess is the perfect excuse to do so. The humans are so low-tech that the Martians can easily wipe them off the face of their beloved Earth. Desperately trying to survive, humans will not go down without a fight. Aldnoah Zero follows the strained relationship between humans and Martians. After an assassination attempt on the Princess of Mars, war breaks out with the Martians, whom, wielding their sacred Aldnoah technology, fight against the Earthlings. The show depicts the war from both sides. Aldnoah Zero is basically the anime version of a Hollywood action movie. It has a really catchy premise, some nice action scenes, but on the other hand, it's full of plot holes. One-dimensional characters, plot conveniences, cliches, etc. Number 4, Vinland Saga. Vinland Saga is very engrossing with a rich culture and preaches to the elements of historical fiction. This anime adaptation adapts a story to get us familiar with its Viking world, the harsh life of Thorfinn Throssen, and what it means to survive. The great Viking Thors, heralded warrior of the terrifying Jomsvikings, believed he had left that life behind him. Having fled north with his wife and infant daughter, he began a new life of simple labor and honest rewards, content with his pursuit of a new, peaceful kind of happiness. But the forces that drive this world do not relinquish their chains quite so easily, and soon, Thors finds the past sailing back into his harbor. How Thors responds to this call will alter the course of history, and set his son, Thorfinn, on a journey taking him through hell and back, all in pursuit of justice, revenge, and that far distant land of plenty, Vinland. At number 3, Katse no Stigma.
Nice try, but wind magic can summon spirits faster.
Katsuma Yagami is a user of Fujutsu, the ability to control wind. He returns to his old home, the noble Kannagi household, after being banished 4 years ago for his inability to control fire and his subsequent defeat in a duel at the hands of his younger cousin, Ayano Kanagi. Returning after such a brutal exile already gives rise to many conflicts, but to make matters worse, several Kanagi family members have recently been murdered with Fujutsu. This leads the Kanagi family, including the hot-headed Ayano, to suspect Katsuma as the culprit. Now, Katsuma must not only clear his name, but also aid the family he shares a mutual hatred with, in order to discover the true identity of the killer. Katsei no Stigma is a fun anime if you're interested in this genre. Battles, magic, comedy, kick-ass moments, KNS has it all. The story is fair, not really impressive since for me it was predictable towards the end. Even though the lack of the main plot overall disappointed me, I found the story overall satisfying. Number 2, Tokyo Ghoul.
Be the craziest of them all. Bring it.
Tokyo Ghoul is indeed epic and emotional at times. It does a good job at balancing drama and action, as well as the development of the characters, especially its main protagonist. It can be a bit violent and bloody at times, but hey, that's what makes it original. The story follows Ken Kaneki, a student who barely survives a deadly encounter with Rise Kamishiro, his date who reveals herself as a ghoul. He is taken to the hospital in critical condition. After recovering, Kaneki discovers that he underwent a surgery that transformed him into a half-ghoul. This was accomplished because some of Rise's organs were transferred into his body, and now, like normal ghouls, he must consume human flesh to survive. Ghouls who manage a coffee shop take him in and teach him to deal with his new life as a half-ghoul. Some of his daily struggles include fitting into the ghoul society, as well as keeping his identity hidden from his human companions, especially from his best friend, Hideyoshi Nagachika. And finally, at number 1, The Rising of the Shield Hero. After its burst in popularity following its first season, The Rising of the Shield Hero is an anime that the viewers can recommend to their non-anime watching friends. The main protagonist of the series is Naofumi Iwatani. He's one of the 4 legendary heroes summoned to the kingdom of Melromark. Their call was answered in modern-day Japan, from where our unwitting heroes are transported to this fantasy universe. Of all these heroes, the person with the most interesting start was definitely Otaku Naofumi Iwatani, aka Shield Hero, who is labeled the weakest due to his lack of offensive capability and apparent inexperience. When the heroes part ways to start their journeys, he only has one willing companion, the beautiful princess Malti Melromark. However, she soon betrays him, steals all of his money, and accuses him of taking advantage of her. Nobody believes him in this unknown world, and he becomes isolated. Being labeled a criminal and accused of wrong things, the otaku takes this to heart and begins to go on a path to find retribution and revenge against everyone who did him wrong.